In this episode of the RV Small Talk podcast, we're going to talk about how to handle and deal with extreme heat in your RV on your outings. Now, I know there's a lot of conventions out there. We're going to talk about some ways to make sure that you are set from the get-go, you have a great time, and you get back healthy and safe. So stick with us for this episode of the RV Small Talk podcast, where we talk about lightweight trailers, truck campers, and the people, places, and adventures that go right along with them. We're your hosts from Princess Craft RV. I'm Clint.
And I'm turning up the heat on this podcast.
Ooh. Turn it up.
That was pretty good, huh?
That was pretty good.
Thanks. It took me like 30 seconds to think of it.
Cook that up by yourself.
I did.
All right.
High heat.
Yeah, broiled.
Which... That reminds me, I made nachos last night and I used the broiler in my oven for the first time. And, you know.
And it worked?
It worked, but you can only do that for 2 minutes? The first batch burnt horribly. It was hilarious. Watch your broiler.
It's intense out there. Kind of like
intense.
Camping. So we obviously have no safeties this week. There is no PJ on this particular episode. So our apologies if you wanted it to stay serious. I simply don't have it in me.
Yeah, PJ's like the bumpers at the bowling alley. Keeps us in the lane. And when she's not here, we have no bumpers, and it's just gutter ball after gutter ball.
I find in a group of 3 people, it's good to have someone who is afraid that we will be perceived wrong. And you and I don't have as much of that.
Zero fear.
Yeah, we are going to get embarrassed and not be embarrassed about it.
Yeah. But in 10 years when I listen to this podcast, I'll probably be very embarrassed. But right now I'm good.
Nah. Okay, so it has been not as hot a summer in Texas as per usual.
It's been a beautiful summer.
We had our hot streak, 110, 115, but it was nothing like the 40, 50, 60 days that we had the summer before.
Well, according to Avery Tomasco, it's about to get hot again.
Isn't that crazy?
No.
2 days ago,
it's not that crazy if you live in Texas.
So comfortable. They call it false fall.
Yeah.
And then we're looking at this weekend, and we're heading toward mid-September. This weekend, nearly 100 degrees
Triple
and
digits.
high humidity.
Yep.
So.
But you never know. I mean, it's weather. Come on. It's
right.
weather, and you never know, and you can never really predict it. But for people who live in Texas and other, hot places, it's kind of like, oh, we don't go camping during these times because it's too hot or it's too cold. But I mean, the base of it is, if you live in Texas, you're missing out on a lot of camping time.
Right.
If you don't go camping when it's hot.
This is my biggest complaint about Texas from the way my household operates, is summertime. It can be so unbearably hot that I'm not doing all those things I was dreaming of doing in summertime with my kids and family, because no one wants to go outside. It's actually dangerous.
Yeah.
And every time I get to do a summertime trip to Colorado or Oklahoma, Arkansas, those are typically where we have driven to. It's half the trip is driving.
Yeah.
Because we're taking our RV and
you're
whatnot.
Getting out of the heat.
Right. So there's that. I feel like it's frustrating that summertime, when you have some summer vacation for the kids and you also have some PTO maybe available, the heat is the drawback. That's the hard part.
And like you said, it can be really dangerous to be outside in the heat or to camp in the heat. And if it's dangerous heat, then, use caution. But the need to not go camping because it is not what you would normally, spend your outside time. If it was that weather, man, go camping. We got tons of stuff here that will help you manage that heat coming from 2 born and raised Texans who love to camp.
That's true. So my first thing, growing up in a hot area and still camping with, my family, tent camping, no less, in the summertime. I grew up in kind of quasi South Texas, and a little bit Gulf Coast and a little bit just hot. And so we were around places like a little town called Goliad, which is a historic town. And we had the Presidio La Bahia, and we had the Mission Espiritu de Santo. And first off, we always went on field trips as kids there. But in the summertime, I might go camping on the premises of these historical places. But you had to camp differently. And I think the first thing was we knew what it was. We lived down there. We knew what summer was going to be like, and we had expectations set. And we kind of, if you would, baked it into our plans and what we expected out of the weekend. It was going to be relaxation because too much activity in the middle of the day was going to kill you.
This is something... Yeah, expectations are hard because when I'm planning a camping trip, it is like, oh, I want to do this and this. I want to take the kids to go see this. But if you look at the weather, I mean, you have to manage your expectations. We just did this when we went camping at Dinosaur Valley State Park. And
that can be an arid place too.
It's hot. What?
Arid. At certain times of the year, it just doesn't rain enough there. It just feels so dry.
I mean, it felt like hell. It was just hot.
I mean, the dinosaurs collapsed.
Yeah, it's true. They were too hot. So our expectations were every day at a certain time, we would all go into the trailer and watch a movie.
Right.
Because it was too hot to be outside. So we'd go inside, watch a movie during that time. And then, in between making lunch and eating it, that covers the majority of the hottest blazing parts.
Right.
Planning events morning or evening.
I was thinking about this as we're coming up with the ideas, and I was thinking, there are cultures right around that certain zone, not exactly equatorial, but in the hot area, tropics or maybe just a little bit above, where it's hot. And cultures around the world in those areas, a lot of them have built into their communities or societies a culture of siestas. And you think about
that's true.
Hot climate communities, a lot of times they work hard early hours of the day and maybe in the early hours of the evening, but a lot of them have a slow down, cool down, and rest time midday.
It sounds like a perfectly natural thing for your body to want to do.
Right.
Is not be outside when it's hot. That's a good point. I never thought about the correlation between, countries with heat and siestas.
Yeah.
Dang. You just...
I wondered it quietly to myself and then now spoke it. So dealing with heat, it needs to be part of the experience in a way. If I put quotes around that, if it's going to be hot, then make your peace with it on the front end and say, yes, we're going to have a hot camping trip and it's a known deal. So let's get the complaining out of the way.
Right. I'm just moving the table all over the place. If you accept it as there's nothing you can do about it, but complaining about the heat during your entire camping trip sounds like a really awful camping trip.
And all you remember is the complaints.
Is how hot it was. I'm trying to think of things that you can do in the heat that you couldn't do if it was 110. I mean, could you? I mean, there's all kinds of you could make sun tea. You could
quickly.
You could do some sort of science experiments in the sun.
Magnifying glass.
Please don't set the campground on fire.
Okay,
no,
fine.
Clint.
All right.
But I don't know. I was just thinking of random stuff that you can do when it's hot that you can't do to try to encourage hey, it might be hot, but at least we can.
We grew up in this Austin area, and towards the front end of my childhood and yours, there was a place in Austin that got really busy in the summer months, in the hot months.
There's a lot of those places.
Hippie Hollow.
Ah, yes.
In the summertime, you don't have to wear as much clothes.
Yeah. It was
for them,
a nudist beach in Austin. And
they're not there anymore.
No.
I never went.
It's been a long
time. But as a kid, we'd drive down and we were like, Mom, what's Hippie Hollow?
It's where the naked people go.
Right. So if you have the expectation set that you're going to be dealing with heat and you can wrap your head around making it part of the experience, the next step is how to prepare to have that hot fun and do it safely.
Yeah, because even, I mean, if you were climbing Mount Everest, you would prepare for the cold.
Sure. The only place you don't have to prepare, I think, is Southern California.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just nice climate most of the time.
Yeah, even if it's hot or cold, it's not that hot or that
and
cold. And
nothing's really that far away. So, I mean, you could, maybe that's the place that you go if you just want to live easy street and not prepare.
Fair. I hope somebody from California chimes in so we can
set me straight.
hear how amazing everything is. Preparing. Yeah. I mean, there's all the normal stuff, the water, something with electrolytes. Do you have shade? Easy Up is like relatively cheap and just a good way to add some extra shade. You know, I think my favorite thing that I ever prepared, quote unquote, for a hot camping trip
blow-up pool?
Was a baby pool.
Yeah.
I mean, they're $10. They stack them up outside of like Walmart. And I just threw it in my camper. I don't have a truck. I just shoved it through the door of my camper. But it
was glorious, I'm sure.
Changed the entire camping trip because, and not just for my kids, for me and for the dog. And I mean, you just put your feet in it and all of a sudden you don't feel like dying.
Can we discuss how magical water is?
Magical water.
I mean, it'll come up a few times in this, but there was something that I guess my wife picked up at one point in time, and it's proven true pretty much every time. If the kids are getting restless, they're outdoor at all, if they're doing any activity or they're done with an activity and they're fussing about being bored, there's an easy solution. Just add water.
Yep.
If you just add water to any activity or have an activity that is water-based, the kids are good for hours upon hours. Now, you have to be there and watch them for safety. But as far as their inclinations, their interests, and their activity levels, just add water. And it works for adults, too.
Absolutely. My kids jump on the trampoline, and then when they get bored, I just take the water hose and I spray them while they're jumping on the trampoline. And they think it's so fun.
You get another hour out of that.
And then you know what I do? I do the sprayer thing up and let it fall on me because I also have way more fun when you just
put the sprinkler underneath the trampoline. That too.
If I had a sprinkler, but I just use the.
Sure.
I just gun them with the.
That's right.
The spray hose.
Knock them down. So,
what other things can you use to prepare?
Well, I think that one thing you're out there for other activities, but a lot of the summertime camping to me needs to be about relaxing and moving slow enough not to kill yourself. So I think about, what makes travel easy? Summertime hot trips need to be easy for me and my family. Easy meals. And maybe meals that don't require much heat for cooking.
Not much standing over the fire.
Yeah. So
that's
a good
point.
Just camping charcuterie boards, if I said that right. I don't know.
Sandwiches.
Right.
Cereal bars.
Tuna fish
trail mix.
salad. You name it. If it's easy and it doesn't add heat to your environment, summertime camping is where that's. And in Texas, chances are you're in a burn ban from May to October anyways. So you're going to be propane cooking. It's not going to be the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, even cooking in your RV and your stove, I mean, like, I understand you're inside in the AC, but still just adding that heat when you're already hot, and it's just not a good choice.
No. Along with that, something that's easy and quick and all that is, I like to keep in mind that your body is under stress in the heat. So clean meals, if you can have something that isn't too processed, maybe too sugary and things like that, something that's going to help your body to handle the environment.
It makes a huge difference.
I don't want to get too much into things like inflammation, and
we're going to turn into a medical podcast.
That and all that. But honestly, the easy meals is good, but also if you can eat simple and clean, your body can respond better to the heat and recover better.
It's dealing with the heat and not all the crap you just ate.
And keep in mind that you're going to be losing salt. So the electrolytes, and I always like having pickles at the campsite anyways. They're easy snacks and all that.
And they're cold.
And they have electrolytes, and you can just drink the pickle juice for the electrolytes.
I love pickle juice.
So it's kind of a win-win-win there.
So my sister told me something, and I haven't ever looked it up, so I'm not sure if it's true, but we'll go with it. She told me when she lived in India, that when it was hot outside, they would drink hot tea.
That is an Asian thing across the board. When I lived in Korea,
but is it
same
true?
thing.
Because she said that, okay, if you drink something hot when your body is hot, your body will react by trying to cool itself down because you ingested something warm. And it's vice versa. If you're cold, if you actually drink something cold, it'll help warm your body up. I mean, how true is that?
I believe there is some truth to that. I think that if you have basically you're fighting the environment with another environment, your internal environment with your external environment. And if the more you're working with, I mean, we have little control over our external environment besides the clothes and whatever
AC.
we were. Yeah. But if you're going to be dealing with cold on a regular basis in the wintertime, then not putting your body through the ups and downs of having something hot and then dealing with cold, hot and cold, hot and cold. That gets me, I mean, switching hot and cold really fast gets me sick.
It gets my nerves all messed up.
Right.
Yeah.
So
you think it's more of like a consistency thing, not just like this is something that I can do right now to warm myself or cool myself off.
So I think that, I mean, this is me speculating.
We're all just
we're all speculating. I think it puts your body through less work to try to
that's right
to normalize, and that's kind of in the same theme as resting and making this a relaxing trip. So in that frame, I think it's perfectly on point. Another thing here that I had as a bullet point is maybe a little more controversial.
What? No alcohol?
Yeah. Reduce drinks and foods that are natural diuretics or diuresis. I'm not sure that I know spelled or said that correctly, but alcohol is one of those. So diuretics obviously make you lose water. And then the diuresis has its own way of making your body lose water or use water just to process the alcohol. And how many times is a cold beverage what we think of? I mean, it's been marketed to us like that, and we've grown up with it in our households and our families. If you do hot work or you're just relaxing, every sporting event, camping, I mean, we grew up with it. Right. But it's not necessarily working with our body.
But it's not helping you cool down.
Right.
Even though, as it goes down your throat, the cold bubbles, it feels so good. It's actually making you hotter in a couple different ways.
Right. And it's not helping you get the water into your body or to retain the water that you need. And therein lies the danger part of hot camping. So, yeah. And then again, the appropriate activities for the environment. Back
just add
to
water.
The water, because you've mentioned this on a few podcasts. It's 100% right. If you can be near water. Now, you're not much of a beach camper.
No, but even even when I camp near water, you still bring a baby pool because then you don't have to. I mean, you can go to the water for your activities, but man, just having a pool of water at your campsite is an absolute game changer.
One thing I've noticed about many water situations, maybe not so much the beach right up next to the water, but a lot of water situations, if it's a stream or lake, then shade is generally nearby unless you're at high altitude. But another feature about water, whether it be beach, stream, or lake, is usually there's a better chance of a breeze. There's less trees
because
over
it's more
the water.
Open.
Yeah, where it is, or maybe the mountain passes or what have you, are kind of funneling breezes through. So
and we all know a breeze can make or break.
For me, very much.
Yeah.
Now PJ hates moving air for some reason. I don't know. I don't understand that. I live for a nice breeze.
She likes a breeze outside. She doesn't like when manufactured air is blowing directly at her.
No fans for her.
Yes.
Not a fan.
Yeah. I mean, okay. So we've prepped our mind. We have gathered the essential items and activities.
But
one giant factor in how comfortable you are camping in the heat is obviously going to be, what are you camping in?
Yep.
So let's talk about a few things that if you're shopping for an RV, you might want to look at, or if you have an RV, some things you can do to help it keep that darn heat out.
So I'm going to, it's not even a bullet point on here, but let's just go ahead and talk about why it's so hard on people who have canvas pop-up campers. in Texas or Arizona, New Mexico, Louisiana, the Gulf Coast.
Because it's canvas.
Right. It's very lossy, very leaky when it comes to air-conditioned air.
Yeah, that's why canvas trailers do better in the north than they do in south.
So well. And I love them. I love canvas trailers.
But it's hot.
Right. I don't have a canvas trailer.
I do not love canvas trailers.
Oh, I do. There's something about them. I have family members that come and camp with us in the fall and spring, and they've even ventured into some hotter situations with their pop-up canvas trailers. They are the epitome of feeling open and airy. You can usually feel so much headroom, but if windows all the way around.
Constantly uncomfortable.
If there's a breeze, you're kind of okay.
Yeah.
But they're perfect in the fall, in the spring, and even in a Texas winter, they're perfect. But in those months that we were talking about in the summertime, when you have that vacation time, PTO time, the kids are off, and you should be hitting all these,
it's just too much. Yeah.
It's too much in the South.
It's too much.
Or the Southwest, or, where we're talking about Moabs and all that. It's just too hot. So if you're looking at something, is there enough insulation? And this is one of my things with manufacturers. It is really hard to find out what their R value is, their insulation value is.
It is very hard.
I don't know that, and I don't know that it's so much that they're trying to hide it. It's that they are using so many different components on a mobile unit that has airflow around it at all times. And there's space considerations, weight considerations. There's so much going on that it is hard to say our floors have an R value of this reliably enough across a whole year of building units. Our walls have an R value of this. Our windows have an R value of this. Our roof, there's so many things involved in a mobile, movable space that it would be really hard to say something this one might be able to hold you to. Maybe too many variables.
Yeah, from what I hear, like every time we talk about R values, it always comes back to like, that's not the number you're looking for. What you really need to know is just which materials they're using to get that insulation. Right. That's where the difference is. I do know a lot of people don't realize that. I mean, it's just like your walls. You need to worry about the insulation in your walls and your windows is what I hear most often, without people looking so much at the floor and especially the ceiling. Because a lot of campers, they're like, oh, we have great insulation in the walls. We have dual-sided this. But nobody ever thinks to ask, what about the ceiling? And most of the times, your ceiling is not going to be as insulated as your walls.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah.
And if the sun is usually not underneath us, but above us, then it really does matter. So if you're looking for an RV, maybe talk about the insulation on the roof. What's in there? How much of it? The windows are the other thing. Windows will that AC will just seep out in no time. That heat will creep in. Dual pane windows are always a step up. Yep. And I hate that aluminum foil bubble.
Oh, the bubble wrap. Yeah.
Things that people put on their windows. Yeah. It is ugly. It is stupid. I hate it. And oh my gosh, it works.
It works.
It works so well, guys.
It's a radiant barrier of sorts.
Yeah. Get over the yucky factor because it works. And I was on the no way, Jose, ever.
From an aesthetic.
I'm just like, I mean, how much difference could it really make to look that ugly?
Yeah.
But yeah, it really makes a difference. And the thing is there, I mean, we know of 3 main types of windows that we see on our trailers here. So is there a window that is just really well insulated that I mean, they're all going to let the heat in, all of them.
To a degree, yeah, but some are better. I think the acrylic windows are pretty great. They have dual pane windows. They have, a lot of them are looking really good because they have tinting, and some of them might have a higher value of tinting and all.
The 2025 Tab 400s just came out with tinted windows, didn't they?
Yeah.
That is a cool upgrade for that little thing.
You know, we're talking about the insulation on the roof and all that. You know, there are trailers that I've been in, and in direct sunlight, you can't put your hand against the wall.
It burns.
Because the insulation is not up to snuff, or the ceiling even. And you think, okay, well, just don't touch those. Well, those surfaces are flat, hot surfaces, and they're working against your air conditioner because they're a radiator.
They're just fighting it.
It's an old school radiator trying to fight your air conditioned air. It's not helpful. It's inefficient. And so the types of insulation that we oftentimes see, you know, old school, they actually used to put in the batting that might settle over time. And that was pretty good. You know, standard construction residential insulation, they'd either have blow in or the batting that you roll in. And then you would find something that I like as a product now is that closed cell foam that is cut to go right between the beams and the walls and the ceiling and the floor. I think that's one of the best options for modern build. You will find some trailers that are built out there and they're just using a compressed foil. It kind of looks like a bubble wrap, but it's foil. That's a good radiant barrier. I still think it doesn't have quite the value from an insulative standpoint as the closed cell block foam. My preference would be the block foam.
Good to know.
It's just heavier is the problem, which is why you would get away from it. So just my thoughts there. Does your trailer, so we've talked about insulation, we've talked about windows, but does your trailer even have an air conditioner? I don't know how many people realize that there are quite a few models out there that you can buy where the air conditioner is optional. Here at Princess Craft, if it can have an air conditioner, we only order it with an air conditioner. But is it the top value that can stand up to the conditions you're going to face?
Yeah, I don't know much about air conditioning. I mean, as far as like good ones or not so good ones, or ducted versus non-ducted. I don't know too much about them. I do know that if your insulation is good enough and if your windows are good enough, then even a medium-sized RV, it doesn't need the biggest AC ever. Right. It just needs good insulation to hold that AC in is, I think, in my head, more important.
You know where people get in trouble with losing what AC they have managed to collect?
Opening the gosh dang doors.
It's like the refrigerator or the freezer.
Stop opening the door.
It's not just that you open it. It's that opening it actually kind of creates a door suction that sucks the cold air out, and it doesn't try to rush back in. What tries to take its place is the warm air, and you're always fighting a battle that you're creating.
Yes.
So
you sound like such a dad right now.
Yeah, well,
were you raised in a barn? Shut the door.
I am the dad who turns off the lights in every room because they're always on. Why are they always on? So I digress on that front. If you're looking at air conditioning, if your trailer has the ability to move to 2 units, then do consider if you're going to be looking to explore in those climates. It typically takes a 50 amp service. It's not hard for yourself or an RV service center to switch out an air conditioning unit. It's one of the easiest things to install a second one. Or if you have your trailer is perfect for the mountains. It has a 7 or 8K unit in it. And you're like, but we are going to camp a lot in the south. Maybe you need to move up to an 11 or 15K unit. It's not hard. They take the exact same wiring and they take the exact same hole that's already cut in the top or side of your RV. So there's the cost of purchasing a bigger, better unit, and if you install it yourself, just the time and materials, or have someone install. I have seen service guys install them in typically under an hour if they have all the stuff they need.
What do you think about like those Cody, our service,
whatever he is now.
Yeah, I don't know. But he has a rooftop tent, and he has an EcoFlow.
What
is it called? EcoFlow?
Does he have an EcoFlow?
Airflow.
There was a zero breeze and an EcoFlow. I think he has an EcoFlow.
I mean, he says it works just fine for him. Is he lying? How in the world can a portable AC cool down a tent?
Well, you think about it. His rooftop tent was it was about a king size. It was between queen and king size. It was one of those folding tents. And that air conditioner unit was dedicated to just blowing cool air into that one space and do it continuously. So I would venture to say it helped him to stay 10 to 15 at best degrees cooler than the ambient air outside of his tent in the space of about a king size bed.
Which, if we're talking about at night, which is really when you're going to be in your rooftop tent, right? 10 degrees could be definitely the difference between sleeping and not. Right.
There are places where it doesn't get out of the low 90s at nighttime. That's a dangerous place to camp. If it's only in the low 90s at the coolest part of the day or night, then you're in a dangerous place and prepare accordingly. But for many places like where we are, it gets 115 degrees in the daytime.
Yeah.
But it might be mid to upper 80s at night. And if you can cool it down another 10 degrees, then you're in a good place.
Yeah. Huh. I don't really have any experience with portable ACs, and just growing up in Texas, I just always laughed at them. Like, like that would do anything.
I think it really largely comes down to the space.
That makes a lot of sense.
And if you're willing to sleep in the nude.
And if you want to go to Hippie Hollow.
Yeah. So enough air conditioning. Airflow, we talk again, if you can have airflow, that can save you in the daytime.
Open a window and then open a window on the other side.
Use those fans and those vents. And then another thing that comes up is water holding capacity. Are you traveling with enough water? Because it's not just for keeping yourself hydrated, but cooling off.
Yeah.
So travel.
Are you able to stick that spray hose up in the air and let it just rain down on you for a second?
Right.
I need that in my life.
If you're in a situation where you're no longer sweating, you have already crossed the line and you are in a dangerous hydration situation, you probably need to look at next options, maybe help get out of there, something. But in a pinch, if you have yourself or someone in that situation and you have enough water in your trailer or on hand, then fake sweat, pour some water on yourself and let it evaporate.
Yeah.
And pour it on a towel. That's one of the most fantastic things you can do in the heat is to
pour it on a towel and then you wave it around so it gets all cold.
Yep.
We used to do that. I feel like heat exhaustion is kind of like trying to drive your truck across the river during a flood. Everybody thinks they're fine, but it's like these weird hidden dangers that people just have too much pride. But I feel like dehydration or heat exhaustion is in that category. Right. We see turn around, don't drown. Who the heck would drive into that?
Right.
People who think they can. The same thing with dehydration and heat exhaustion is, I'm fine. My head kind of hurts, but I'm fine.
I will be fine. This is going to be okay.
Yeah. And sometimes, a lot of the times, people don't realize they have heat exhaustion until you're already at stage 4.
Yeah, it's very dangerous.
Just so
and
if
people
you go
don't give
into
credit to how hard it is to recover. Not a day.
It's not drink a glass of water.
It could be weeks, could be months, and people have been seriously permanently injured
because it attacks all your organs. They say we don't have enough water. So I just don't stop camping. Just be prepared. Bring a baby pool and prepare your RV. And I think camping in the heat, heck, I think it's the best, but that's because I don't have much of any other option.
Well, there's that. And there's people who genuinely enjoy the heat. Genuinely. I'm not necessarily one of those. I God, I love my fall and spring camping so much.
Yeah, I mean, me too. But I also
don't want to stop.
Yeah, I mean, I like the summer just because it gives me an excuse to seek out the water.
And to be honest, in our industry, it's funny because we're in the camping industry, but the camping industry makes it hard for those in the industry to go camping at the perfect time. All of our events, I don't care, spring or fall, our spring and fall are destroyed with shows and conventions and rallies and open houses and things like that. So
product launches and
all of those things.
That's true.
Right. It's my personal biggest gripe with working in the industry is the timing of the events.
Yeah, they should all be during the summer.
Right. Yes, they should.
Let's write a strongly worded letter.
Sold. So, if you have more ideas on how you camp, why you camp in the heat of the summer in hot places, or if this has been just dumb and you need to let us know, you can hop on over to the interwebs and you can let us know what for by looking up the RV Small Talk podcast. Our show notes can be found at rvsmalltalk.com. On YouTube, you can see what we look like as we videotape these podcasts as well, minus the videotape. We do it on SD cards. And we are at RV Small Talk Podcast and on social media as well. We have rallies. Look them up. Texas Tiny Trailer Rally. We will have one coming up in about a month or so. And we have the Texas Truck Camper Rally every spring. And I think that we'll try to find other events. So stay tuned on those pages and maybe even like us on Princess Craft as well. Do you have anything else?
No, that was so profesh.
I mean, I have my moments. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. It was professional a minute ago.
It was. We're done now.
Thanks, y'all.
Bye.